Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. The Russian leader has once again made it clear to the world that his imagination knows no bounds. In his latest speech, he stated that the Kremlin's goal is to increase life expectancy and that humans may be able to live to 150 years of age, at least those with almost unlimited funds looted from their own people and from others. Now, in addition, let us recall that during a recent conversation with the Chinese president, he discussed the idea of organ transplants to prolong human life. The details remain vague for now, but it seems that Putin's secret to longevity may include not only philosophical reflections, but also practical medical solutions of some kind. What is it going to be then? Zombie dictators of the world unite? Or is Russia exploring some kind of transhumanist concept of transferring consciousness beyond the human body? Details, as always, are rather elusive.
Меньше. Мы цели даже определенные ставим перед собой по увеличению средней продолжительности жизни. И все правильно делаем. Можно, наверное, довести до 150 лет. Но, во-первых, всегда будет мало. Так же, как денег. Всегда. И, на мой взгляд, главный вопрос не в том, сколько прожить. Главный вопрос в том, как прожить, зачем и ради чего. А на эти вопросы отвечают наши традиционные ценности. Говорю без всякой иронии.
However, even if the Kremlin leader lives to be 150, will the country he leads keep up the pace? Pioneering medical experimentation is expensive, as is leading pointless and ill-advised wars, by the way. And if your crude oil life support systems are faltering due to Ukrainian drone strikes, for example, it may turn out you'll afford neither in the end. Not to mention, the hubris of living well into the next century is in stark contrast to the life expectancy of the average Russian, brought down by factors like alcohol consumption, poverty, poor quality health service, and the prospect of being sent to the Ukrainian front line and coming back with the infamous Code 200 attached. Now, ironically enough, now that technology is evolving more rapidly with the advent of AI, the idea of biohacking your lifespan would not be that far-fetched, provided you have enough cash to do so and the life you can actually enjoy. Even if Russia's budget doesn't buckle under international sanctions, what is the point in being a 150-year-old international pariah with an ICC warrant on your head? And don't forget about Ukrainian victims of Russian missile strikes, some of whom never got to live past their teens, never mind pursuing immortality. In the end, Putin might be lucky to go down the way of Lenin, immortalized in a mausoleum. And even that, I suppose, would be too much for many. Russian propagandists are once again trying to turn aggression into a mission for the greater good. Patriarch Kirill, in his typical manner, stated that the occupiers who invaded Ukrainian territory are not violating the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," because they are protecting the weak and the defenseless. Presumably, this protection refers exclusively to Russian military equipment and spiritual combat support, I guess?
Духовный подвиг не просто поставлены рядом, но они как бы приравнены друг к другу. Они, если вдуматься, просто неотделимы даже друг от друга. Герои войны смертью смерть попрали. Только воскресли они не физически, а в памяти народной. Поэтому и пишут «Подвиг твой бессмертен». А как же заповедь «Не убий», скажут нам оппоненты. На это есть простой и ясный ответ. Когда зло отнимает жизни людей, когда враг угрожает жизни старых и малых, женщин и детей, тогда именно бездействие недопустимо. В таком случае именно непротивление злу является пособничеством убийству. Тот же, кто встает на защиту Отечества, сохраняя жизнь и слабых, и беззащитных, именно тот исполняет заповедь «Не убий». Мы не вправе жертвовать ближними и подставлять под удар своих соотечественников. Это понимали прославленные церкви Александр Невский и князь Дмитрий Донской, патриархи Гермоген и Сергий Строгородский. Именно поэтому в основах социальной концепции Русской Православной Церкви в разделе «Война и мир» используется понятие «справедливой войны».
In reality, the numbers don't lie. Every day, Russian troops strike Ukrainian cities and villages using hundreds of missiles, artillery and drones. Over the past week, dozens of civilians have been killed in large cities such as Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, Kiev and Ternopil alone. On average, dozens of civilians are killed every day. Hundreds are wounded and thousands are left homeless due to destroyed houses. In the last month alone, Russian strikes on civilian infrastructure have exceeded hundreds of cases, and the damage to the economy and human lives is estimated billions of dollars. No holy war narrative can undo the deaths of civilians and the destruction of cities. And the Russian Orthodox Church, which the Patriarch leads, is actually complicit in all this, with priests blessing weapons of war, including nukes, believe it or not, and the church itself being infested with Russian propaganda. By the way, this is why the Ukrainians decided to ban it, and also why having the Russian Church actually have an equal status in Ukraine under a certain 28-point plan that's floating around the media space right now rubs Ukrainians the wrong way. Because if someone told you to embrace Russian spies and warmongers led by an ex-KGB agent who preach the destruction of your people, I'm quite sure you would say it's a lovely idea, right? While European capitals discuss defense budgets and plan to modernize their armies, a real war is raging in eastern Ukraine. For almost 4 years, the Ukrainian armed forces have been holding back a much larger and stronger Russia, defending cities, civilians, and critical infrastructure. Every day, they gain combat experience that no European army has gained in decades. Meanwhile, however, Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó decided to tell the world that, and I quote, Europe's security does not depend on Ukraine. He said that it is more important for each European country to finally improve its own defense capabilities. Now, reading this, however, you may begin to realize that for Hungary's plans, defense is more about pretty charts, presentations, than about tens of thousands of soldiers on the front lines.
Azt is gondolom, hogy az egy hazugság, hogy Ukrajna Európáért küzd, az egy hazugság, hogy Ukrajnán múlna Európa biztonsága. Európa biztonsága nem Ukrajnán múlik. Európa biztonsága az európai országok védelmi képességeinek javításán múlik. Európa biztonsága azon múlik, hogy az Európai Unió tagországai milyen módon tudják erősíteni a saját védelmi képességeiket.
The facts are as follows. An alliance with Ukraine could actually be the key to Europe's security. The combination of combat experience, modern technology, and professional military personnel provides the continent with real security guarantees that are battle-proven. If you had to choose between a Flamingo cruise missile and the Budapest Memorandum, which would you choose for your defense? Would you use a piece of paper to swat at drones, or would a Ukrainian unit of interceptors do the job better? Those in the know respect Ukraine's military prowess, from scuttling the Moskva to the daring Operation Spiderweb. And unless your name is Péter Szijjártó, or perhaps Steve Witkoff, you know that going hand in hand with Ukraine's military is a better path to a prosperous future than standing against it. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.